So a few years ago, I wrote an early version of this. It was an experimental literary historical book. It was set in Glasgow in the 1920s, and it was about the Glasgow razor gangs of the era. It was very Peaky Blinders, before Peaky Blinders. And I published sections of it in literary magazines, but no one was interested in the overall project, perhaps understandably. And at the time I was told, why don't you rewrite this as a contemporary noir? And that was something I was unwilling to do, because it meant losing the history, losing the literature, and losing the experiment. So I decided I wasn't going to do it. But then during COVID, if you remember COVID, I was feeling really uncreative. And I thought, let's just do something to do. It's not too strenuous. So that's when I wrote this particular novel. I had one idea. I don't have many ideas. I had one idea for this novel. I decided to combine two different kinds of noir. There's a kind of noir called tartan noir, which is noir set in Scottish urban areas. It's a tradition that goes back to William McClure in the 1970s, but many Scottish writers have made a career of tartan noir. Ian Rankin is now Sir Ian Rankin through writing tartan noir novels. They often feature an existentialist, somewhat damaged, crisis of faith detective, and they also feature some analysis of social decay. And I was very interested in that. I was also interested in what's called DNV noir, which is noir set in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia. The kind of fiction that we associate with George Pelecanos, who's a writer who did many episodes of The Wire back in the day. And he has a bunch of what I call tropes that he uses in his fiction. And my idea was, what if I take a tartan noir detective from Glasgow and put him in Washington, D.C.? Then I can make use of all the tropes of both. And there's no imagination involved whatsoever. That seemed perfect. So the detective's name is Charles Cowan. His relatives call him Chick, because in the west of Scotland, Charles always becomes Chick. I don't know why. He comes to DC a year after his daughter is murdered there, and he's unhappy with the police investigation, because it's a noir. And they say, go away, and he doesn't. And mayhem ensues. And he begins his investigation in southeast Washington, which are the poorer neighborhoods, Anacostia. But gradually he crosses the river into Capitol Hill, Georgetown, Alexandria, because he's come to believe there's a larger conspiracy, because it's a noir. And there may be a conspiracy, or he may be going mad. It's not quite clear. I'm not sure myself. And ultimately he discovers the butler did it. Most of the book is in DC, therefore, 95%. 5% is Glasgow, and that is flashbacks when he's remembering his daughter. And those scenes are often kind of cutesy in a way, because he's grieving and he's thinking back. So the section I'm going to read today is a Glasgow section, because I thought that would be more entertaining for an American audience. My wife said, if you're going to do this, you're going to give them a glossary. Otherwise, they're going to be very confused. So I did. I've got a couple of things I wanted to say about language, and the subject of language is the last entry in the glossary suggests there is quite a bit of swearing. I would justify that on the grounds that it's how people actually talk in the west of Scotland. People do swear a lot. It doesn't mean anything, it's just rhythmic. But it's the sound of people talking there, and it's the sound I hear playing in my head. The second thing I'm going to say about language, and I bring this up because I mentioned it to a student, and they were so interested in this because they were a creative writing major, and they wanted to hear stuff like this, and I said, you know, when I wrote this section, I revised an old short story that I'd written some years ago, that was based on my own experiences at a wedding reception. I used to dread wedding receptions because in a working class community, they're an excuse to kind of have a blowout, to behave badly. And my memories of wedding receptions are fistfights and uncles throwing up in potted plants and people trying to hook up with people they should not be hooking up with, like the bride. And when I was 18 or 19, I attended a wedding at a place called the Tudor Hotel, which was nothing like how it sounds. And I did use that as the framework for the short story that I revised into this. So my point being that not only is the language authentic to the locale, but some of it is verbatim. And I apologize in advance, I do not approve of any of these characters. I do not, even if they are members of, no. The main character is narrating, his name is Callan. It's a third person. His daughter's called Katrina. The other characters are members of his family. The wedding reception was in Easter House, which was bad. Easter House was the kind of place that Ethiopia held rock concerts for. But the reception that day had also soon acquired its own hysterical edge. Deep down, both families knew this was a marriage already fucked beyond redemption. Uncle Murray was leaping up that night, trying to snag the microphone after every song, always to be beaten to it by one or other of the horde of half-cut Neds who seemed to comprise the bulk of the bride's family. For Christ's sake, Marion, he spluttered, very frustrated. Them Tims have been monopolising that thing for the past hour. The mic should get shared by both sides. Aunt Marion sniffed for emphasis. She was big on the sniffing. Her face had in recent years collapsed into itself, Cowan noticed, with the leathery compression of an ancient accordion. Murray always sings Scots wha hae at weddings, Aunt Marion explained to Katrina. This side looks forward to it. We do, Cowan muttered. Paddy McNamee commenced murdering the killing moon in a strangled falsetto. The wedding band, whose accompaniment to his yowling was a deranged Indian raga, was draped in Granny Takes a Trib retro shirts and looked ridiculous. Their name was Cerebral Paisley. Katrina told her father that the band's name was an appalling taste. What if they're from Paisley? Katrina didn't say anything in response to that. She just looked daggers at him. The thinking man's psychedelia, he suggested half-heartedly. This lot used to be the cruisy fixers. Now, that was bad taste. But there was to be no amusing his daughter that night. She just stared right through him. Those oval blue eyes of hers, sad as all tomorrows. Can we go soon? She wailed. Please, I can't take much more of this. A cat caught in a mango would be more musical than this lot. My ears have started bleeding. Cowan knocked back the dregs of his latest single malt, smacked his lips with satisfaction. We'll give it another hour, it's a family duty. Dad, Katrina said, nodding at his empty glass, you've had enough. This is just situational drinking, love, he explained to her, to get me through the rest of this fiasco. You've had more than enough, she repeated. You're getting that way you get. Although she never wanted to come to the wedding in the first place, Katrina had nonetheless begun bawling during the service at the Congregational, blubbering away like all his other female relatives. His black eyeliner had run to coalesce in inky globs in the pockets of her eyes. Cowan thought about telling his daughter she looked like a depressed MMA fighter, but decided against it. 2 rules for drinking whiskey, he said instead. First, never drink whiskey without water. You know what the second is? No. Never drink water without whiskey. Oh, for fuck's sake, Katrina said. thoroughly exasperated. Mummy would hate this shite. Mummy's not going to hear about this shite though, is she? Mum's the word. What you don't know can't hurt you. Katrina's lower lip looked like it was going to melt on her chin. What you don't know can hurt you a lot. You know something? You sound just like your bloody mother. Over in a musty corner, Karen's nephews, Billy and Willie, were giggling and making daft faces into a phone, mugging over a deep pile of empties. That bride's definitely got a bun in the oven, Willie was saying. Paddy McNamee couldn't remember all the words, and so quit on the Bunnymen number halfway through. There was a smattering of applause and the cry of Fenian wanker. Uncle Murray leapt up quick, but the Paisley was back at the dancing tunes now. Fucking hell, he declared, this is just hopeless. You said it, Katrina mumbled. She got up and slouched off in the direction of the cash bar. Aunt Marion leaned in, perfume close to Cowan. Her skin was a peculiar mottled burnt orange, like an upturned crate of iron brew. Your lassie is still at that university. I hope she's not going to go get all stuck up on us, all hoity-toity. She's going to America next month and she's staying for the year. Why'd she want to do that? All the folks out in the States shooting each other all the time. That's what they do out there. They shoot each other just to say hello. You couldn't pay me to go to America. I'd pay you to go to America. He was watching the bride's father swaying in slow motion across the dance floor, like his calves were brimful of mercury. He was a small man with a big face, and his belly, bulging askew, a disturbing smoking jacket, solidified an overall impression of swollen, inebriated redness. He was screaming something about the hucklebuck. Katrina returned to the table with her vodka and orange and sat down. If you can't beat them, she said, glancing at her father meaningfully. 20 more minutes, that's it. The poor bridesmaids look like they're covered with manky tablecloths. Can I steal your old man for a minute? Billy was smirking cheerily at her. His incisors were urine-coloured. The blushing groom would like a quick word with his favourite uncle on this happy occasion. He's all yours, said Katrina, pursing her lips. Bring him back in one piece. Why are you going to the States? Aunt Marion asked her. Are you have your chump? The groom was very far gone, practically paralytic. His eyes glassy and red-rimmed with drink, bits of pink confetti stuck in his lapels. Uncle Chick, he slurred, seeing Cowan approaching. How's it going, Alec? Cowan offered. Big day for you, eh? I'm knackered already, but nothing like later the night, when I'm honeymooning up a storm. Alec attempted a leer but couldn't pull it off, and explored thrusting his hips back and forth tentatively instead. He was Shane McGowan on a bad day, roomy, leaning too close, reeking of peanuts and Bacardi. No place I haven't been before, mind you. I'm going to be a daddy. Alec was suddenly disconsolate. Oh fuck, what happened to my life? Well, go easy, son, Cowan suggested, gesturing at the groom's gyrating groin. Don't dislocate yourself. Alec was now squinting salaciously across the dance floor at the miserable-looking Katrina. Now there's a body looks hotter than the sun tonight. That would be your cousin, Cowan. He wondered for a moment whether it would be inappropriate to deck the bridegroom at his own wedding. He considered that such a gesture might reflect badly upon him. Billy was tagging wildly at his shirt sleeve by then anyway. I have plans, he hissed. What do you mean you have plans? Them's good plans, Alex said. Outside, Billy said, looking furtive, the walls have ears. You have plants in the walls of years. Terrific. Alec was looking all around the hall anxiously. Used to be careful, mind. I don't want any aggro at my first wedding. Sitting beside Cowan on the fire escape, overlooking the tarmac parking lot behind the ex-servicemen's club, Billy proceeded to extract from the pocket of his jacket a plastic Ziploc bag of packed dry vegetation like roots or fungus. Something from your window box, Billy? Mushrooms, Billy said. Fancy a hit? A hit? At your brother's wedding? For Christ's sake. Nowhere better. In actual fact, our Alec already had some. Weddings are massive downers for everybody. Karen contemplated this sentiment, frowning, then realised he agreed, very much agreed. You do remember I'm the police, right? You do recall that, Billy? Aye, you're not going to arrest me at a family wedding, Uncle Jim. That would be right bad for him. Drug use has an unfair reputation anyway, considering all the wonderful things in life it's given us, like popular music and all them world records in sports. The way I see it, a wedding is just a funeral, where you can still smell your own flowers. Cowan sighed, examining the white tubes through the plastic. What do I do? What you do is chew. Billy giggled. That rhymes. Chewing is what you're doing. Cowan examined his nephew's eyeballs, which were like something you'd find behind the counter in a joke shop. You've taken some of this already, haven't you? Chew like a coo, it's what you do. Billy had some difficulty composing himself. I may have partaken of a small smidgen. Mild high. Not even got the buzz of hash. Very mild. Mind you, I've acquired a tolerance also. But very mellow. Mellow. Mellow yellow. Mellow yellow. White, red, E. You know that song? It's a Donovan song. I know the song. It's called Mellow Yellow. I know. It's the one that goes, I'm just mad about suffering. It's not suffering, it's saffron. It's saffron? Saffron. Saffron? What's saffron? It doesn't matter, Billy. You don't know what it is either, do you? Billy, fuck the fuck off. Whatever, don't flip your wig. Billy examined his fingernails. Hello there, China, he said. A metallic object dropped from his pocket and clanked down the fire escape steps. Was that a knuckle duster? Might have been. At a wedding? A lot of Catholics here tonight. You cannot be too careful. If you dine with the cannibals, you're liable to get eaten. You've got a point, Billy. It's an idiotic one, but it's definitely a point. Cowan was reading the graffiti scrawled on the green rubbish skip rammed under the fire escape. It was the usual stuff. Fuck the Pope, Celtic, 1690, Bethia loves Elephant Man. But more creatively scribbled in purple paint, 3 things I hate. 1, vandalism. 2, irony. 3, lists. A sketch of the Little Mermaid holding a submachine gun with find the male gaze daubed underneath her bushy fishtail. There must have been university students hanging out here. Not Glasgow University, maybe Jordan Hill College of Education. Cowan considered his current predicament. He thought of his daughter waiting for him inside, wondering where the hell he was. He'd had 6 or 8 drinks. He'd better skip the shrooms. The 2 of them before something really bad happened. Would you look at that, Billy said, pointing. Unbelievable. A black wedding limousine had pulled around the back, right beneath where they sat, parked adjacent to the skip, ready for a quick getaway. A triangular white ribbon stretched out tight across its bonnet. A cardboard sign had been looped around the bumper with a clothesline. In red capitals, it proclaimed absurdly, "Just marred." Billy spelled it out. M-A-R-R-E-D. There you go, he said, truth in advertising. Well, that might just be the bride's family's way of reminding the happy couple there's no I in marriage. Kevin offered creatively. Aye, but you know, think it'll more likely remind everybody of how come the bride's family are a share of fucking morons. Walking back into the lobby, Cowan happened upon a deeply inebriated bridegroom, attempting to perform an oral tonsillectomy upon his daughter. "Leave me alone, you evil creep," Katrina shrilled, shoving Alec away from her with both arms. Alec staggered, wobbling like a baby deer on roller skates, on ice. "Ah, here's the man," said Alec, finally noticing his irate uncle standing behind him. "I'll thank you to unhand my daughter," Cowan observed, before delivering the obligatory Glasgow kiss. Alec went toppling backwards slowly like a cartoon character. Billy came back in, still high as a kite and hallucinating wildly. "Oh no, now you've went and killed the bridegroom, Uncle Jack." He shook his head sadly. "What a terrible wedding." "He's not dead," Karen explained. "He's just kind of concussed. I just stuck the head on him." "How can you tell when he's concussed?" "Anyway, it'd be no big loss," Billy said. This he observed casually while yawning. "I cannot stand that evil cunt myself. He's my brother." The grass outside the ex-servicemen's club was water-weighted, and raindrops crashed into the daffodils in the dark. Cowan standing in the doorway, alcove, looking up and down the wet shining street, seeing spilled petrol spilled down a drain in yellow lamplight, realized that his daughter had made her escape into the darkness. It was all coming back to him now as he trudged to the northeast, making his way across the sprawling urban campus of the George Washington University. That terrible day, all the madness that was being him, the sheer exhaustion of living with this much misfiring circuitry. Truly, Cowan was a very sick man.